Was facing 45 years in prison. And then when the Justice Department made a request for a proffer meeting, the proffer meeting is they'll give you a little idea of what they have against you, and then they make an offer. You can take it or leave it. And they offered me 45 years. And I said, I'm not doing 45 minutes. I didn't do anything wrong. And this woman, she became Deputy Attorney General for the criminal division under Biden. She said, take this deal, Mr. Kiriakou, and you may live to meet your grandchildren.
Oh, my God.
Oh, it was... I went home that night, and I went home. I'm ashamed to even say it. That night, we put the kids to bed, and my wife and I were watching TV, and she said, come on, let's go to bed. And I said, I can't.
It was run by the CIA, which is so crazy. And it's totally connected to Manson, the Manson family.
Manson, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Manson was a part of it as well.
It's so nuts. And they wouldn't have even known about that until they found a stash of documents that connected it all together.
Mm-hmm. And just think of what's been destroyed.
Right.
What we could have learned.
Exactly. We only know a small fraction of what was done. So is it a case of just they're not elected, they're put into power, presidents come and go, and over the course of their career, 20 years plus, they just have so much power and so much ability to get things done that they just bypass the law?
I think that's the whole story right there in a nutshell. When I was there, I remember being shocked by cold cell and sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation doesn't sound like any big deal. And when that finally leaked, Don Rumsfeld, who was the Secretary of Defense at the time, made a statement that still kind of sticks in my mind. He said, there is no such thing as sleep deprivation. He said, I have a stand-up desk in my office. I don't even have a chair in my office. And sometimes I'll work 24 hours and then into the next day, 36 hours. But that's not what we're talking about here. We know from the American Psychological Association that people begin to lose their minds at day 7 with no sleep. And they begin to die. Their organs begin to shut down at day 9. But the CIA was authorized to keep people awake for 12. And then, as you can imagine, within 24 hours, the CIA files what's called a crimes report against me with the FBI, saying that I had revealed classified information. The FBI then investigates me from December of 2007 to December of 2008. And then they send my attorney a letter called a declination letter, declining to prosecute. They said that they had completed their investigation, that the information was already out there because of Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and the Red Cross. But most importantly, torture is a crime, and it is illegal to classify a crime for the purpose of keeping it from the American people. So no charges. My wife and I went out to celebrate that night.
Was any of it effective? Like, was there any actionable information?
That's the worst part of this. No, none of it was effective. You know, I say this all the time, Joe. It's like a kick in my gut to have to compliment the FBI. But if there's one thing that the FBI is really good at, it's interrogations. They've been doing interrogations effectively since the Nuremberg trials in 45 and 46. These guys know what they're doing. And so with Abu Zubaydah as an example, we captured Abu Zubaydah, and normally overseas, the CIA has primacy. Domestically, the FBI has primacy. But 9/11 was still an open criminal investigation, and so we sent Abu Zubaydah out to the secret site, and the FBI took over. The CIA was furious about this, but there was an FBI agent by the name of Ali Soufan who did exactly as he was trained to do, and he began to engage Abu Zubaydah in a conversation. And
this creature. Multiple witnesses say they saw another one of them. There was like a couple of them. Mm-hmm. One of them was injured that they picked up, and then there was another one that was there. And then many people in the town said that they saw another craft come by to retrieve those aliens. It's a really nutty story because it's the same story is told independently by a bunch of people.
You know, I've kind of got my retirement figured out, and I have for a while.
Can't you just retire right now if you wanted to?
I mean, I could. It's just what I'm doing. I think is important. You know, so
yeah.
I gotta see my mission through. Like, the government is we've been spending way too much money on defense, not getting nearly enough for it.
$1 million to put me in prison. Was society really better off spending $6 million to put me in a low security prison for 23 months? So in the end, they said, best and final offer, 30 months, you do 23. Well, I was only the second American who had ever been charged with this crime of violating the Intelligence Identities Protection Act of 1982. The only other person that was charged with it was a woman named Sharon Scranage. She was a CIA secretary in Ghana in the 80s. And she was having an affair with a member of Ghana's intelligence service. Brennan immediately sends a memo to Eric Holder, the new attorney general, and says, talking about me, charge him with espionage. And Holder writes back, we got these memos in discovery when I went to trial. Holder writes back and says, my people don't think he committed espionage. And then Brennan writes back and says, charge him anyway and make him defend himself. So they charged me with 5 felonies, 3 counts of espionage. They waited until I went bankrupt, and then they dropped the espionage charges.
Is there a VR that like a professional boxer could use? Like, could you get VR to the point where you could program it with AI? So you could take like
I'd go further.
The movement of like a Sugar Ray Leonard or something like that and actually program it into the machine?
So I'd go further. It's not just something you could do. It's being done. There are boxers who are using this technology.
Really?
So like I know Logan Paul and Jake Paul, and have talked with them a lot about using virtual reality and how they're using it to do combat training. That's right. Wow.
Well, my thought was that you could actually emulate an opponent. So, like, say if you were supposed to fight Canelo Alvarez, well, we have this database of all Canelo Alvarez's performances and training footage. So you could calculate what his normal exchanges are, what his opening moves are, how he sets the hook up off the jab, he feints the right.
Agency 3.5 years. I got a call from Brian Ross at ABC News, and he said that he had a source who said I had tortured Abu Zubaydah. I said that was absolutely false. I was the only person who was kind to Abu Zubaydah. I said I've never laid a hand on Abu Zubaydah or any other prisoner. And he said, well, you're welcome to come on the show and defend yourself. Well, I had never spoken to a reporter before. I didn't know that was a reporter's trick. So I said, I'll think about it. In the meantime, President Bush, I remember it being a Monday, President Bush gives a press conference, and the International Committee of the Red Cross had said in a paper that the CIA was torturing prisoners. Human Rights Watch said CIA is torturing prisoners, and Amnesty